G'day, I'm Garry Pye and welcome to our webinar called New Ways to Animate. Whether you're brand new to Cartoon Animator or a seasoned pro, this webinar is going to show you how to get the most out of Cartoon Animator to create the very best 2D animations, as well as showing you some exciting new ways that you're going to be able to animate as the landscape of animation changes, thanks to the rise of artificial intelligence. First of all, today, we're going to kick off by taking a look at some of the tools of Cartoon Animator 5, the essentials that every animator needs to know, and how to use them effectively to bring your scenes and your characters to life. Then we'll take things a step further and we'll look at the future of animation, how you can combine Cartoon Animator with AI-driven workflows to push your creativity further than ever before. This session is tailored for beginners looking to build a strong foundation in animation, and also for long-time users looking for fresh inspiration and new ideas. By the end of this webinar, you'll see how these two worlds combine to make your animation pipeline faster, easier, and more fun than ever before. But as always, first of all, I need to give you my disclaimers. First, I never claim that my way is the easiest way, the best way, the fastest way, or the only way. But what I do claim is my way works. Second of all, we're going to have a lot of other CTA pros in here today who are going to have their own spin on things, their own ways of doing things. Listen to what they can offer you. Take on board the advice I can give you, do your own research, and you're going to build up a fantastic knowledge base for Cartoon Animator. And finally, I've been using this software for over 12 years now, and I still don't claim to know everything there is to know. So if you ask a question today and I can't answer it, don't worry. There are plenty of other ways that you can get answers to your questions, including the Reillusion website that has all the free tutorials. Then there's the Reillusion YouTube channel, which has all the webinars and videos on there. There are the forum pages. We have the Cartoon Animator users Facebook page, where we have over 6,000 CTA users and animators and developers and artists who are on hand 24 hours a day around the world to answer your questions. You're always welcome to send me an email to garrypye@reillusion.com. At the end of this webinar, we're going to have a Q&A session where you can ask your questions live. And one thing I'd like to point out, since we're going to be covering the topic of artificial intelligence today, it's a good idea to have a second device running alongside of yourself when you're working with Cartoon Animator, something like your mobile phone, a laptop, an iPad, so that you can have ChatGPT running and you can ask questions of it as you're on the fly. All right, the first part of our webinar today is going to be all about some of the tools and features of Cartoon Animator for our new people. So I'm going to open a project here and we're going to take a look at that. Now, here we go. Cartoon Animator has some really fancy cameras that you can use so that it puts you in control of the editor's suite and the director's chair for your projects. You can do it all right here inside Cartoon Animator using the new tool called Camera Editor. Now, a few people have got stuck about how to use the cameras, so I thought today I would go over them and explain a couple of ways that you can use the cameras. So I've set up this little project here with my UFOs flying across the sky, and as you can see, that's just, here's all my little props in the 3D mode, all set at different Z-axis values. And if I play my animation, it's nice and simple. The UFOs fly through the sky, no big deal. Fabulous. Now, what if we wanted to cut to different parts of that animation as it's animating? We can do that using our camera editor. And I'll show you how you do that. The first thing that we need to do is to set up a camera, okay? So we're going to click up here, we've got camera, and we're going to call that camera 1, and we're going to add the hotkey of number 1 so that later on we can switch between it. I just want to see, can I turn that little screen off up the top there? Hide video panel. Okay, I get hidden the video panel, doesn't matter. Okay, so we've got our first camera there. Now we want to set up our second camera. Now it's really important. This is the step that a lot of people get incorrect. In order to set up a second camera, you first need to go to switch mode, because if I change how my camera is positioned right now while I'm in camera 1, it's going to affect camera 1. Okay, so if we go back to preview mode, now I'm free to set up my camera shot however I want, as long as I stay within that blue area, which is my screen output. Let's put camera 2 there. Now, let's add a new camera. There it is there. And we'll call this camera 2. And we'll give that a hotkey of 2. So now, if on my keyboard, if I hit 1, I go to camera 1. If I hit 2, I go to camera 2. So let's add in a third camera just to make sure that we do the steps properly. Again, go back to preview mode, move our camera around to where we want. We want it to be there. And we'll add a new camera, call it camera 3. Add in our hotkey of 3. So now we've got camera 1, camera 2, and camera 3. And we can switch between them as we go. So now let's start at camera 1, and we need to open up our camera timeline. And we have here a timeline called switcher. The switcher timeline is the keyframes for switching between your cameras. Okay, so right now it's just set at camera. It's not set to anything. We're on camera 1. If I hit set camera switch key, this little keyframe turns to camera 1. So it will stay locked onto the view of camera 1 as long as we go. So now let's go over to camera 2 and work out when we want that camera to come in. Let's say around about there. At that point, we want to switch over to camera 2. So if I hit set camera switch, you'll see that I get a keyframe on the bottom of my timeline there, letting me know that from frame 0 to frame 32, we'll hold on camera 1. And then at frame 33, we'll switch across to camera 2. Let's go over to camera 3 and we'll move forward on our timeline and find out when we want to, there we go. Let's have camera 3 cut in around about there, okay? On our timeline at the bottom, set camera switch key, put it in, we get our keyframe. So now what we've effectively done is to tell Cartoon Animator, at frame 1, we want to be camera 1. At frame 34, switch to camera 2. And then at frame 100 and whatever, 6, switch to camera 3. Now, where a lot of people make a mistake is they play their animation. You can see it's playing, but the cameras aren't switching. The animation's still happening, but the cameras aren't switching. And I know that drives people crazy. Here's what you need to do. You first need to go into switch mode. Now that I'm in switch mode, all your keyframes are going to take effect. When I hit play, we're going to go there, switch to number 2, switch to number 3, and you can now output your video with all different camera cuts. So that's the first thing you can do with the cameras. But the second thing that I want to show you that you can do with your cameras is a very cool little trick where you can get your cameras to track your object. Let's get rid of that one. Let's get rid of that one. We'll just use this one, zoom in on him a little bit for the sake of this to about there. All right, let's bring up our cameras. Let's start a new camera and we'll call it camera 1. Here we go. And we'll do set camera switch. Right, we'll set the camera switch, but this time we're going to use follow object. When I click the link, I get this blue bounding box that comes up on the different items in my screen, which is Cartoon Animator's way of asking, what do you want to link the camera to? And the obvious answer is this UFO. So when I click that, the name of the UFO comes up in there, and my camera will now track with my UFO. So when I play my video, I get a nice camera track alongside of it, and I don't have to worry about transforming the movement of my camera manually. So that's a great idea that you can do with your cameras. So that takes us through the very first tool that I want to show you. I'm just flipping my little pages here so I know where I'm up to. Okay, let me open up the next project and we'll have a look at the next tool. One of the things I love about Cartoon Animator is that it automates so much of the tricky, fiddly parts of animation. Things like keyframing, pre-made motions all speed up your time animating so you can be creative rather than being locked down with all the boring, tedious stuff. And one of the tools that does this the best are spring bones. Spring bones automate the movement of things in your character like hair and clothing, and it can also automate props like flags waving and things like that. Here on screen, we have Anita, who a lot of you may recognize from previous webinars that I've done. If we take Anita into Composer mode is the engine room of Cartoon Animator, the behind the scenes where you can make changes to your characters or props that are permanent. So when we bring the character in here and we go over and we zoom in on her like this to take a look at her, you can see that I've added in a bunch of different bones into Anita's face, because you can add as many different bones into your character's face and body and their props and things like that as you want. So if we go to the spring bone editor here, select the face and hit preview, you can see the spring bones are the orange bones. And when I grab the little gizmo and move it around, you can see the way her hair bobbles and moves around. That's because the spring bones are taking effect, okay? And you've got lots of different presets that you can play with here. But in order to understand the way spring bones work, what I'm going to do is to remove some of the spring bones, and then we'll put them back in so you can see exactly how I do it. Let's take out a couple of the spring bones here. Here we go. Let's take those out and we'll put them back in. So the first thing that we want to do is work out which item we want to work with. Let's open up our sprite here and check it and make sure, yep, that hair piece there, that one there, is the piece that we want to work with. And you can see there is the pivot point for this particular item. So what we want to do is to add in some bones that we can eventually turn into spring bones, okay? So let's just add a bone, and holding down, or just left clicking with my left mouse button, I can hit escape when I'm finished, and I've created a nice little chain of bones in her hair. Now, I can manually move all those around and keyframe them if I want to, like this. I can grab it, keyframe the movement around, but spring bones are going to allow us to get her hair to move naturally without having to worry about keyframing. Takes away a lot of that extra work. So if I go into spring bones, you can see here I've got a folder which is orange called hair, which already has some bones in there that have been converted to spring bones. You can have as many different folders as you like, or you can put them into this folder. For the sake of this, let's put them in this folder. I'm going to grab this bone here to start my new chain of spring bones. The reason I grabbed that one, it is really important that you don't ever grab the first bone in your chain, because that first bone is an anchor point that needs to hold still so that all the other bones after it can wibble and move around, but that bone will stay still. So let's assign that to the group. We're going to assign it to this hair group here. When I click it, you can see that bone plus all the bones after it now become orange to let me know that they're all part of that hair group. And if I hit preview, now when I move her head around, when I move her face around, you'll see that the hair moves around like that. Now these presets and the parameters down here, you can adjust those to get any look you want from your bones. For instance, the default is always the first setting. It's pretty good. It'll give you a good result for most. For hair, I generally use stiff, and you can check these out in real time. Stiff it gives it that little bit of movement, but it's not over the top. Two fun presets that you can play with. You have weighted, so it looks like she's just got out of the pool, or you can have light, so it looks like she's fallen off the edge of the building. But stiff will give you probably what I consider to be the best results. Now, another thing that's worth considering is the way you set up the way your bones are linked together will affect the way they work. So here I have them all in a daisy chain link, right? So they're going to work like a rope. But here you'll see that I have them in a concertina effect, so they're all going to squash like a concertina. So if I was to grab this Why don't we just come up here so I can grab it? Right. So if I was to grab this pivot point and I select add bone and we add in some bones like that, we've got a concertina effect. Then, there we go. And we'll go down to spring bones and we'll grab this second bone and we'll assign it to the group. Oh, I assigned it to the wrong group. See how it went red? That's letting me know it's assigned to the default group. We want it to assign to that group. So that's where the colors come in handy. I assign it to that group. And now when I hit preview, if I move her face left and right, those buns at the back don't really move too much because their movement is up and down. But if I move the character up and down, you can see I get this lovely spongy, springy effect in her hair. So you can do that with characters' hair, clothing, whatever. But there's a couple of other ways that you can use your spring bones as well. So you can use them in props, you can use them in clothing, experiment with it, drop them in there, see how they work. Okay, let's move on to our next tool. And the next tool is freeform deformation. When you consider that all of the elements of Cartoon Animator in order to animate are just individual sprites with a pivot point in the center and they rotate 360 degrees around it, I think Cartoon Animator does an amazing job of giving us all the tools we need to make sure that these sprites look more dynamic and hand-drawn and don't just look like this little shape shifting around the screen. Freeform deformation is one of those tools. Do you remember the old days cartoons like Tom and Jerry, where you could get a character and they would squash and stretch and be exaggerated? That's what freeform deformation does. It allows you to squash and stretch your character far beyond their normal capacity, okay? What I've done, I've set up my little character here on screen of my pirate, and I've just applied a pre-made motion of an animation of him running, and he's going to run across the island. When I play this animation, I want you to pay attention to the fact, because we just came off the topic of spring bones, I want you to pay attention to the way his hair moves, the way his little ribbon moves, and his little charm on the top of his head. So he's going to run across the island like this. Nice and easy. And he'll come to stop at the other side. Okay, now you could export that animation and go, I'm happy with it. I don't need to do any more. That's perfect. But freeform deformation is a wonderful icing on the cake that just allows us to add that little bit extra to your characters. And I'm going to show you how you can do that. First thing we need to do is to select our character, okay? And we need to open freeform deformation and our freeform deformation tool. There it is there. Let's go into preview mode and zoom in on the character so we can see what we're doing a little bit better. There we go. All right. Let's grab our pirate and open up our freeform deformation. There are a lot of presets here for freeform deformation that you can play with. Personally, I just use the default. That's all I use, because I can grab any one of these lattice points or draw a square around them to select multiples, and then I can move them around to change the shape of my overall character. So what we want to do here is we want to try and apply some squash and stretch. Okay, so let's first of all start our animation, and you'll see as he squashes down like that, I might just grab a section here, squash it down. Now we don't want to change the shape of the character too much, right? But we'll have him squash down, and then you'll see you'll get a keyframe on the timeline at the bottom, letting us know that that is the shape of the lattice work for freeform deformation at this exact moment in time, right? Then, as he springs up to here, I would reset all, because I like to reset to the original position from time to time, because otherwise what can happen is you keep deforming, and then you get to the end of your animation and you realize that your character looks like a Picasso painting and his nose is on the back of his head and everything's gone horribly wrong. So before I make changes again, I will reset. Now that he's up in a higher position, we could grab all of this, lift him up a little bit just to give him that extra little bit of squash, right? And then he's going to come back down again. Now, another thing, I could copy and paste my keyframes across if you want to, so that you get the same thing. That's going to speed it up. I don't do that. Whenever I animate, even if the sequence is exactly the same all the time, I will animate each part of those sequences because that way it's a little bit different each time, looks a little bit more dynamic, a little bit more hand-drawn. Up he goes again, reset all, take it up, get him to get that little stretch going, and down he comes again, reset all, take him back down. We've only got a few of these to do. Up he goes again, reset all. By the way, I love doing this because to me, repetition is the key to learning, right? You go over it, you go over it, you go over it. Eventually it sinks into my head and I know what I'm doing. So if you learn like I do, the way I teach should be good for you because I like to do repetition. He's going to go up again, reset all, take him up. Get a little bit of a change there. He's going to come down again, reset all, get the little squash going. Down he goes. The nose is a bit out there, so bring that down. Up again. This should be about the last one, I believe. He's going to go up again. Now, as he comes down here and comes to a stop, we can exaggerate this stop motion. So as he comes down, we'll get him to squash down, right? Squash down. But as he goes forward, we'll reset. And let's have him really stretch right out there a little bit. I then up. And we'll get him to come up like this. And then down. Maybe even down like that. And then bring him across just a tiny little bit more. Reset all. Now, we've applied that squash and stretch so that we get a little bit more exaggerated motion out of him. So now our animation will look like this. And our pirate gets that nice little bit of sponginess and squashing to him, and he no longer looks like a cardboard cutout. And I think that's really important. The one secret tip I'd give you to freeform deformation is don't overuse it. As soon as you overuse it, it looks terrible. So be subtle in the way that you use it. All right, let's move on to the next project. And the next project is Motion Pilot. In my opinion, the coolest toy in the Cartoon Animator toy box is Motion Pilot. Motion Pilot allows you to control your characters live on screen using your mouse to control their movement while you record the movement, and then you can go back through your animation to tidy it up, keyframe other motions like, your character head turn and blinking and hand gestures and things like that. It allows you to speed up your animation. And I got to tell you, the first time I saw Motion Pilot in action, it blew my mind. And every time I use Motion Pilot to this day, it still blows my mind. So I want to show you a couple of different ways that you can use Motion Pilot. Let's take a look at my octopus under the sea to start with. Let's go into composer mode, the engine room again, and have a look at him. You can see my octopus has all these bones in his tentacles set up, and he also has all these bones in his face set up. And the reason that I've got the bones in his face set up is because I've got the ears, the head, and the jaw. When I hit preview and I move him around, you'll see he gets this lovely spongy, squashy feel to him using the spring bones. So that's why I have that set up in there. But you'll see that when I go to his body, there we go, we've got all the bones set up in his tentacles. And if I hit preview, back in the old days where I come from, if I wanted to animate this octopus, I would have to grab each of these tentacle bones and I would have to keyframe their movement around like that. And if somebody said to me, I want you to animate this octopus swimming across the ocean, I would have gone, there is not enough money or time that you could offer me to get me to do that. With Motion Pilot, what became probably a couple of weeks worth of work, now we can do in seconds, not minutes, seconds. And it is amazing, and it works like this. If I open up my Motion Pilot tab, that will give me all my information on how my octopus is going to move. Right now, I have him set on the X and Y axis, which means he can move up and down and side to side. I have my preview button and my record button. They both do the same thing. The only difference is with preview, I can play around with my octopus and practice my animation without recording any keyframes. Then when I hit record, I can do it all again, but this time record all my keyframes. So let's, to start with, have a look at preview. When I hit preview, all I have to do is hit the space bar, and I can move my octopus around on screen, and I can go, oh, I'll have him swim over to the reeds and then maybe come over here and swim off screen. And I've practiced, and I go, yep, okay, I'm ready to go. So now we're going to hit record. We're going to record our motion, and our octopus is swimming across, and I'm controlling him with my mouse and just moving him across the screen like that. And then I hit the space bar again. It's all recorded. I've just recorded 272 frames of animation in what? 4 seconds? So open up my timeline. I've got my octopus. Open the transform tab, and there are all my keyframes for my octopus down there. And I could go back to frame 1. And this time around, I'll take my hand off the mouse, just hit the space bar, and there is my octopus recording of the animation that I just did. It's that simple, and it's heaps of fun. And I can then go back to frame 1 if I want to, and I can start to keyframe in all his head motions and his eye blinks and his motions and things like that, so that you slowly build up your animation. It's one of the things I love most about Cartoon Animator. You don't have to get everything right the first time. It's not like when you're drawing on paper and drawing each individual frame of animation. You can do 3,000 frames of animation and then go, you know what? I want to make a change at frame number 7 and go all the way back, make that change without affecting the rest of your animation. Now, there's a couple of other ways that you can use the motion pilot, and I would like to demonstrate them now. For props, motion pilot is fantastic. Let's say, for instance, I had this machine here like that, and it was a piston that's just going to move up and down. Now, I could easily keyframe that motion, take it up, take it down, take it up, take it down. It's tedious, it's boring. If we use motion pilot, we can automate all that motion. So let's open up motion pilot. This time around, we're going to get rid of the x-axis because we only want this piston to move up and down, so it'll be just on the y-axis. And we don't need to flip it. And we're going to hit wave. Now, down here we have our wave section, and we'll look at the move amplitude. You can experiment with the others, but I'll show you how the move amplitude works. I've got it currently set to be -100 and +100. So it's going to go all the way one way, then all the way the other. The tweening is linear, which means it's going to go all the way to 100 before it reverses and comes all the way back to 100. And it's going to take 32 frames to do that. So when I hit preview and I hit my space bar, my piston just starts moving up and down. Now, I could record that on the screen if I want to, as long as I don't touch my mouse. If I touch my mouse, oh no, he's not going to follow the cursor. So we're okay. Even touching the mouse won't affect anything, which is good. When I stop it, and the reason I said that was because up here, we had face cursor up here, and that's going to affect the way the character moves. Now, a couple of other things. Loop duration. That's going to depend how many frames it takes to get from -100 to 100. So if I blow that out to be 500, now all of a sudden, that's going to be a nice slow animation. If I was to make that a really low value like 8, that's going to go absolutely crazy, okay? Now, the other thing that we have here is the tweening, linear, because right now it goes all the way to 100 before turning around and going all the way back to 100. But if I use random cyclic, means it will go somewhere between 0 and 100, and then turn around, go back the other way, go somewhere between 0 and -100, then turn around, come back the other way. So let's do it at, say, 100, so it slows down a little bit. We've got it at random cyclic. When I hit preview now, we'll make it 50. We'll make it 50. It's close enough. When I do it now, you'll see that this motion will be random. It's going to go to different parts. There we go. It's going to different parts between that. So you don't have to have everything nice and smooth and even. It's a great way of getting parts of your background automated. Plus, don't forget, you could add a prop to that with spring bones. So let's say, for instance, you had like a ribbon that's going to go up and down. The ribbon's going to start waving around, and you can fake some really nice physics in here. All right. There's one other way that you can use Motion Pilot that I think is really cool. Here we go. And that is getting your characters moving. Because in Cartoon Animator, you know we've got lots of different ways we can get our characters moving. We can mocap them, we can keyframe them, we can use pre-made motions, of which there are thousands in the content store and marketplace. But another way you can get them moving is Motion Pilot. And it's a perfect example of when you want to do a crowd scene and you're not really too focused on wanting detailed animation of the characters in the background. You just want them moving around. So you can have a character in the foreground who's doing all the work. Let's say, for instance, I want to get my hipster to walk across the screen. I just want to do it fast. If I go over here to Motion Pilot, right, and I open up this section at the bottom, where is it? Called Motion. And there is an area in there called Blend Motion. I check that and it gives me the Blend Motion box. I can drop any animation into there, and when I hit preview or record, when I play it, as I move my character around, so that animation is going to play. So let's find a walk cycle that we like, and everybody who's been here for a while would know that my favorite walk cycle is the double bounce walk cycle, which is available in the Human Motions Cartoon Moves pack, which should be your #1 go-to pack to buy. Okay, that is the best pack in the marketplace of motions. Normally, I would grab that motion, drag and drop it onto my character, and you'll start to animate, right? We're not going to do that. We're going to instead hold down the left mouse button and we're going to drop it into the blend box. The reason I've done that is because I've now told Cartoon Animator, when I move my mouse, play that animation. Okay, now we only want him to walk straight across the screen, so we'll drop the y-axis off. Now he can only move on the x-axis. He's only going to move side to side. Now if I hit preview at the moment, as I move my mouse around, so that animation plays. But let's be honest, it's not real good yet. He looks like he's on some sort of a moving travelator at the airport or something, right? We want the animation to match the speed of the mouse movement better. And we can do that here by increasing the speed of the animation, take it up to about 6. Now when I hit preview, as I move my character across the screen, there we go. Now he's going to walk across the screen like that. And I can have him just milling around and walking around. So I've practiced. Now I hit record and I get my character and he's walking across the screen like that. And I'm happy. So now I can go back to frame 1, check it, play it. There's my animation. I'm not touching the mouse. It's just playing automatically. But let's say, for instance, we want the little tradie over here to go walking the opposite direction in front of the hipster. Now he's set to be able to move in X and Y, so I can move him around the screen, which is good. Let's just hit record. I can record over frames that I've already recorded. So the hipster's already recorded. That's great. Now I can record over the top with the tradie. So we'll hit record, get ready. Here we go. Now we didn't apply our animation. Ha! Let's go back. Here's a good tip. You will make mistakes like I just did. That's fine, because at any point you can just go back and re-record over the top. So it's not a problem. Let's open up our motion tab, blend box again. Let's pick a different motion. Which motion will we give him? We'll just give him the normal walk cycle. So let's drag and drop that into there. There we go. There's our normal walk cycle. Use mouse movement. Great. Let's try again, Gary. And we'll improve that up to 6. Hit record. Now let's try it. And so now our hipster can see, the hipster comes along and our tradie can step out of his way and continue to walk like that. So now what we've done, we've recorded 2 characters at 2 separate times on the same piece of footage, and the end result will be like this. And then don't forget, you can go back in now and you can tweak everything. So you could add in some speech, you can change their hand gestures, have them looking around, do whatever you want. So that is the end of the first section of my webinar. And now we're going to get to the second section of the webinar, and I know this is the part that a lot of people have tuned in for today and are very excited about, because now we're going to talk about the future of animation. There is a lot of talk around at the moment about artificial intelligence and how it can help or assist us with 2D animation, okay? And look, there are those people who think that artificial intelligence is pure evil, and there are those people who think artificial intelligence is the greatest thing ever, okay? I am not here today to convince you that artificial intelligence is a good thing or a bad thing. I'm just going to show you what it can do. Because the thing is, there's plenty of people out there who are creative but don't have the abilities to do everything, so artificial intelligence can help them. Then there are the people out there who are stuck on a time frame, a very short time frame. Artificial intelligence is great for those people. And then there are those people out there, and I know there's a lot of you, who are just curious and want to dip your toe into the artificial intelligence world. And we're going to have a look at that for you guys today. But first of all, a little disclaimer here. I want to acknowledge the fact that I totally respect anybody who doesn't want to use artificial intelligence. I'm not here to force it on you. I get the fact that there are a lot of people out there who have built up skills for drawing and illustrating and animating over many years, and they would rather rely on those skills than have a computer do it for it. If that's the case, there's nothing to stop you from just using Cartoon Animator as it is. But what I want to show you today are some ways that we can start using artificial intelligence. I'm not going to have artificial intelligence to do all of the work. In other words, just put in a text prompt, I want a cat in the kitchen cooking dinner, and walk away. I don't want that. I want more control out of my artificial intelligence. I want to harness the power of it and use it alongside of the pipeline of Cartoon Animator and all the skills I already have. How can I get them working together? Now, one last thing before we start, and that is I've already generated a lot of stuff that we'll be using today for our webinar presentation. The reason for that is because I really didn't want to have to sit here and you guys watch a blank screen for 3 minutes while I'm generating images. But I will be showing you the prompts, and I will be sharing the software that I used. Okay, let me open this up and let's get into the first section of this. The most common question that people ask me in relation to Cartoon Animator and artificial intelligence is, can I use artificial intelligence to create a fully rigged G3 character for Cartoon Animator? And the answer to that question is both yes and no, which is not helpful at all. And I totally understand that. So I thought today we would investigate and have a look at where it is helpful and where it's not as helpful. Now, let's say, for instance, you want to build yourself your very own custom G3 character. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to want some sort of inspiration from somewhere, whether you've seen a picture in a book or a magazine or a sketch that you've done, whatever, okay? So let's say, for instance, I saw this picture of this girl here, and I went, oh, I'd like to create a character inspired by that. Not copying that, not having the exact one, my own version, a little bit different, because this particular character here, with Cartoon Animator, I created every single sprite for this by hand. It was all drawn by hand. So every mouth sprite, every eye sprite, every body sprite, all drawn by hand, okay? But we want to explore how can we do it using AI. So the first thing you do is you look at it and go, yeah, okay, that's the sort of character I'd like to create. What I would do is go to AI like ChatGPT or Grok or something like that, put the photograph of this girl in there and go, describe this character to me. Describe this style of art for me. That's the first thing I did. And it gave me back this prompt, a cheerful cartoon girl character with exaggerated features in vector 2D style. She has large, expressive brown eyes, rosy cheeks, and a big open smile showing her teeth. Her hair is bright red, styled in 2 braided pigtails tied with bands. She wears a short sleeve black top with a maroon pleated skirt, long white socks, and black Mary Jane shoes. The style is playful and cartoony, with smooth shading and clean outlines and a polished vector look. The overall design is colourful, friendly, and childlike. ideal for animation or children's media. She is standing facing forward in an A pose. Now, we have our prompt. And really speaking, the only really important line that we have there that we don't want to miss is the last one. She's standing facing forward in an A pose. And the reason for that is because Cartoon Animator's characters generally start from an A pose. So we want to make sure of that. But the rest of the prompt, you could customize to be anything you want. So where it says a cheerful girl cartoon character, you could put a boy cartoon character. Instead of bright red hair, you could say curly yellow hair. And instead of saying black Mary Jane shoes, you could have white sports shoes. Okay, so you can change the prompt. It's just to show you how to write the prompt. Okay, so I put that prompt into ChatGPT and it gave me back this image. Now you can see straight away that that character is clearly inspired by this character, but is also not exactly the same. It's not a duplicate of that character. And don't forget, if I would have changed the prompt to say, make her hair different, make it a boy, blah, 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 you would never have even known that that was inspired by that original character. Now I could take this character and I could drop it into Cartoon Animator and I could throw a few bones on it and make it a free bone character. That would be fine. But you're not going to get much movement out of it. We want to know, how do I make a G3 character with all the bells and whistles? So the first thing that you need to do is to understand how a G3 character works. And if we take this into composer mode, you can see that this character is broken down into a series of different sprites that represent things like the hip, the arm, the hand, the heads. Then in the face, you also have all the face parts like the eyes, the mouths. You need to create all of those parts with artificial intelligence, but you also need to be able to separate them all so that each part is a standalone prop that can be imported into your character. Okay? So that means that what you would need to do, and this doesn't require any drawing skills, which is great. If you can use a pair of scissors and a piece of paper, you can do what I'm about to show you. You need to cut out this character so that you have all of those parts on your templates for your cartoon animator character. So to save time again, what I've done, I have cut the girl out. There she is. So you can see I've cut out all the individual parts of my character there. Okay, now all I need to do is to get them into the template character. There's two ways you can do that. I could export this character directly into my software like Affinity, Photoshop, something like that, no problem, and then swap out all the parts in the different folder structure. You need to understand the folder structure, how to do that, and I have covered that in previous webinars. Or for you new guys out there, there's an easier way of doing it. If you save all of these individual parts of this character, you can bring them into Cartoon Animator and build your character that way. And I built over 400 characters using that method. So yes, it can be done. All you need to do is to isolate each part of the body here, save it, and bring it in. Now, I'm not going to do the whole character because we're going to be here all day, but I will do a couple of parts of the character. Let's do the hip. Okay. Select, edit, copy, create a new document, paste our hip in, get rid of the background because we don't need it. We've got to make sure our part is transparent on the background, and we'll make the background 444 by 444 so that you've got a little bit of blank space around the outside, and then we'll export that as a PNG, and we'll call that PNG1. Great. And then we'll do the arm as well. Okay, so let's just do the left arm, edit, copy, file, new, same again, drop it in, get rid of the background. Let's go with canvas size of 333, 333, doesn't matter how much, just make sure you've got some area around the outside. Export it, and we'll do that as number 2. Now, you would need to go through and do that for every single body part, every single sprite of the mouths and the eyes. You get faster at it, believe me. But now I have my character here in composer mode, my template character, and I can just bring my parts in and start creating my own character. So we know we've got the hip there. There's the hip, okay? All we need to do is to replace the current element. The hip is already there. We want to replace that hip. So I'm going to select that. I'm going to find my PNG. Where was it? PNG, wasn't it? PNG1, there it is. And I'm going to bring it in. Now, it may not come in at the right scale. Not the end of the world, just rescale it. For the sake of this, let's just do it at 100%. And that's going to bring it up to about where we want. Before we bring the arm in, you can have a look already that if I hit preview, look, now we've got our torso in there. Okay, so as we start adding more and more pieces in it, our character is going to build up. Let's do the arm while we're here. Let's import that arm. Again, comes in too small, bring it up. Now, by doing this method, you'll see the biggest problem is it didn't come in exactly where we want it, right? The arm is not exactly where we want it. But don't worry, because we have these three little tools up here that are going to help us move all of our sprites around. And I'll explain what they do. The first one is transform sprite. That moves the sprite and the bone. And you'll see when I take my finger off the mouse button, it will always snap back into position unless we have edit pose selected. Okay? The second one is edit sprite. With edit sprite, I can move the sprite, but the bones will stay in position. And the third one is edit bone, where I can move the bones around, but the sprite will be in position. So we need to use a combination of these tools to set our character up. First of all, I'm just going to grab edit sprite, and I'm going to sit the sprite of the arm roughly where I want. You can adjust this as much as you want. Now we know the hand needs to be at the end of the wrist, so let's use transform part to bring our hand up at the end. Nice, but that bone is not sitting in the right spot. So let's use transform bone. Now, if I was to move that bone, it's also going to move the hand bone because it's connected to the end of it. But if I hold down the E key on my keyboard, I can now move this bone without affecting any other bones. So I'll put my bone about there. Now, when I hit preview, I can move my arm around and I can see that my lady has an arm. So all you've got to do is to keep swapping all of your parts around like that. Okay, that's how you do it. But that covers the body. What about the face? So what I did, I put the girl into ChatGPT and I asked it to give me all different mouth expressions. And I'll show you the prompt that I used, which is right here. Give me a sheet of mouth visemes and shapes. Make them all different. Include mouth shapes for saying the following letters. And then I put what letters I wanted it to create. And I put the face of the girl in there so it knew the style that I wanted. And then it came back with this image. Now, when you first look at it, it's pretty good. But there are a lot of inconsistencies there. It's got a nice Wallace and Gromit feel, actually. But it's got a lot of inconsistency there. For instance, here we've got the teeth all in one piece. Here we've got 2 teeth. Here we've got 4 teeth. Here they're not even touching the gums. So it's okay. It's a good start, but it's not perfect. There are certainly a lot of mouth shapes there that we could work with because we need to create all of our mouth shapes. So I put that image back into ChatGPT and I explained that I want all the teeth to be the same as this first sprite. And then it gave me back this. Now, we were a little bit closer. We got more of them now, looking better, but still 4 teeth there. Not the end of the world, but that F is not right. F is way off. That is not what F is supposed to look like. So I thought I'd be tricky and really hold ChatGPT's hand here. And I put the prompt in. The letter F is still not correct. Maintain character consistency, but use this reference image to get the mouth shape correct. And it came back with this, proving that AI sometimes just doesn't listen and acts like, you know, a 5-year-old child. It's changed the teeth back. It's changed the color of the skin. The F is still not correct. It clearly did not get this right. Now, I could spend another couple of hours generating, regenerating, tweaking my prompts. You could do that. But what I chose to do instead was to go back through my prompts to this one, which I was really quite happy with. I thought this was really quite good. And then I just tweaked it. So all I did, again, not so much drawing skills as cutting out skills. I cut out the different mouth shapes that I liked. cut out the teeth that I liked, and then tweaked it and moved everything around so that in the end, I ended up with these mouth shapes, which frankly, I'm really, really happy with. And when you consider I didn't have to draw any of them, I can now just import them into my character, save them all one at a time on a transparent background as a PNG, and you've got all your mouth shapes there. Now you can just keep creating as many as you want. Okay, moving away from characters for a minute. Another thing that AI is fantastic for is creating props that would otherwise be really quite difficult to be able to create inside Cartoon Animator. You see, as I said before, Cartoon Animator has a flat prop and it moves it around. It can squash it, stretch it, rotate it, move it, but it really can't change the look of it, okay? What if we wanted to do a prop of an object that changes shape? I wanted to create a prop of a disco ball. Okay, so I went to ChatGPT and I asked for an image of a disco ball with a green screen on the background, which I could mask out as an alpha channel later on, and it gave me this. Happy with that. Thing is, I wanted the ball to spin and rotate the way it would if it was a real disco ball. So this is where I started using different software. I put this image into a site called Envato, E-N-V-A-T-O, Envato, which I have to tell you, since I started writing this webinar and scripting it, I am more and more in love with Envato every single day. It is unbelievable what it can do. Envato has a tool called image to video generator. So you can put a single image or two images, start and finish, into it, and it will bring it to life based on your text prompt, right? So what I did, I put my disco ball into Envato's image to video generator, and I said, just make the ball spin, nice and easy. And it came back with this. Open it up, here we go. And this is what it came back with. So there's my ball spinning. Now, the thing is, it's not perfect, okay? And you have to get used to this with AI at the moment. In the future, AI is likely to be perfect. Right now, it's not always perfect. You can see that it starts off stationary, picks up speed, slows down, flips back the other way. Now, I could have spent, I don't know, 5 or 6 more generations on this trying to get it to be exactly what I want, but I felt like I had enough to work from, okay? So what I did, I completed my animation in Cartoon Animator, then exported that as an MP4. I opened that in my favorite video editing software, which for me just happens to be CapCut, right? Then I took this video and I laid it over the top as a new layer, over the top of my video, made the background green, the alpha channel, transparent by green screening it, right? And then I ended up with this. Watch.
From the creative mind of Garry Pye comes the series that one critic dared to call backward.
It's great in 1970s, man.
If it's real to you, you've come to the wrong place.
Okay, so as you can see, I now have a prop created by artificial intelligence that otherwise would have been impossible for me to create directly inside Cartoon Animator. But you can also think bigger than individual props. You can create entire backgrounds, animated backdrops for your projects. And I'll show you what I did here. I wanted to create oh no, before I do, that's right, I want to show you the file before we do that. Another way that you can create animated props, I forgot about this one. I asked ChatGPT to give me a vector image of a cartoon flame, and it gave me that image there, right? Then what I did, I put that into Envato's image to video generator and said to it, animate this fire. And honestly, the prompts that I use, I try to keep them as simple as possible because sometimes I like the surprises that AI gives me back. So I asked it to animate the fire and it gave me this. So there's my fire animated. I'm really quite happy with, let's play that again because it glitched. There we go. I'm really quite happy with that. Now, the problem here is it's got the white background, okay? And I could mask it out and do all that sort of thing, but I wanted a little bit more control over this prop. So what I did, I took each individual frame that I felt created a good sequence. So I would move a few frames ahead, copy, copy, copy. And what I did, I pulled each of those frames out as an individual PNG with a transparent background, right? Then I take all of those props, import them all as a single prop into Cartoon Animator, a single prop that has multiple frames. Then I can just cycle between those frames to create an animated prop that I can reuse over and over again in Cartoon Animator like this. So there's my little fire prop. And if you're not sure how to do that, I'm happy to show you, but there's plenty of instruction around on how to import props that have multiple sprites. Now, as I was saying, another thing that I like to do with artificial intelligence is to think bigger, right? To create an entire backdrop over the top of which you can animate your characters. So instead of just having a static background, you can have a living, breathing, dynamic background for your characters. I wanted to create an underwater world. And so I went to AI and I said, just give me a cartoon underwater world of a reef with the sun shining down on the water surface. And it gave me this, which frankly, I think is absolutely gorgeous to start with. But there was a slight problem. And that is the image has these bubbles in it and the fish and things like that. I didn't want my animation, when I animate this scene, I didn't want those bubbles in there because there's something that I could add in separately later on to have a little bit more control. So I put this image into Photoshop, and using Photoshop's generative fill, which can remove elements out of your picture and replace it with what it thinks would be behind that image. So I would get rid of all of these bubbles, and generative AI can then turn around and go, right, I know what's going to be behind there. I ended up with this image. So now we don't have any bubbles, any fish. Nice. I've just got a nice clean backplate to work with. Then I put this image into Envado's image to video generator and simply said, bring this scene to life. That is my most common AI prompt. Bring this scene to life. It gives some amazing results. So I asked it to bring this scene to life, and it gave me this. And now I have a, play it through again. Here we go. So now I have a lovely animated backdrop that I could apply to put my characters over the top of. And I grab my little jellyfish here. That's my little jellyfish. He has some little spring bones in him. And I could animate him over the top of the water like that. And honestly, to do that entire scene took maybe 10 minutes. And that, to me, I think it's amazing. I hope you guys think it's amazing. I think it's amazing. All right, moving on. There are a few other ways that you can use artificial intelligence, and I just want to highlight what they are. For instance, artificial intelligence is great for visualizing your characters at all different angles. This is handy for both 2D animators and 3D animators. As a 2D animator, this is the original character that I had. I put this character into a program called Nano Banana, which, to be honest, is probably my favorite AI site. It's amazing. It's included with Envato with a subscription. What Nano Banana does is it allows you to take an image, a character, an object, a scene, whatever, and move the camera around it, and it will generate what it thinks it looks like. So I asked for a back view and a side view. So now I have these three characters. As a 2D actor, as a 2D animator, where this is great is you could have a back-facing character in a conversation with another character so that you can fake your camera switches, and you could easily just throw a few bones into that, make him a free bone character and just have him moving. As a 3D animator, this is great because now when I'm modeling my original rig for a character, and I've used this process when I made my 3D characters for iClone, you can have each of the different angles that you need so that you can start modeling over the top to get all your dimensions right. Another thing that you can use, here we go. And another thing that you can use AI for, and this is my absolute favorite. I've been so excited to show you guys this. This is where we're going to finish up my presentation. Then we're going to move on to Q&A, but I love this. One of the things that I use artificial intelligence for is recreating my own designs in new looks. For instance, this character here's name is Clang. Clang is a character that I've created for Cartoon Animator 5, fully rigged 2D character. I put him on screen, I rigged him up, then I put him into ChatGPT, and I said, reimagine this character as a 3D character. And it gave me that. And I got to tell you, blows my mind. That is unbelievable. For me to sit down and try to model that character in 3D would take me months, whereas I have the shot already done in minutes. But what if I could create all different poses for the character? This is where Cartoon Animator comes in super handy, because I took that same character, put him in all different poses, then ran it through ChatGPT with the same prompt, generate him as a 3D character, and it gave me all these different characters that I could use. Now, there are a few inconsistencies here. They're not all perfect. For instance, this character has 2 badges. This one's got 2 sights on his gun. This one's missing the bottom of the rocket. But these are all things that you could very, very easily fix up in Photoshop with a little bit of tweaking without the need to be an artist. Okay, these are very, very easy tweaks. But what can we do with these poses? Is there anything we can do with them? The first thing you could do with them is you could use them in static media, like for instance, put him on a t-shirt, put him on a coffee mug, put him in a kid's storybook, or even put him in a comic strip, which I did here. So using Photoshop, I created him as a comic strip. Works absolutely perfect. But let's be honest, we want a little more. We want to do a little bit more. So what I did, I took my character in Cartoon Animator and I posed him. Then I took that pose as a PNG, put it into ChatGPT, and I said, now reimagine him as a 3D character. And it gave me the character. Then I put it through ChatGPT again, and I said, create me a background for this character. It created the background. I manually put the little shadow on the bottom of him, but I would now have a full set up, good looking, polished scene that I could bring to life using Envato's image to video editor. And what I did, I created a whole bunch of clips just based on the prompt, do something crazy. And it gave me a whole series of clips back. I'm going to play this clip for you now and show you what it came back with. Here we go. And here we go. So that's it. That's just a taste of some of the things that we can do with artificial intelligence now. That brings me to the end of my formal presentation. We still have about an hour that we can get in and we can ask some questions. So if you guys have any questions, I don't have the chat open during the presentation because I find it really distracting. But what I'd like to do now is to go to the Q&A section, and I'm going to attempt to answer some of your questions. But first of all, let me just say thank you very much for joining our webinar. Thank you for everything. I've got a follow-up video to this webinar that will be coming out soon. And I'm also putting together some more videos that will all be available on the Cartoon Animator users Facebook page that will show you how to do this sort of thing. I've got so much to show you, it's not funny. I'm happy to share everything that I know. And I'm telling you now, with Cartoon Animator and AI working together side by side, you have the perfect pipeline to create the most professional looking animations. All right, let me get started. Do you have to have an NVIDIA GPU to run either the AI workflows or Cartoon Animator, or can you use AMD? To the best of my knowledge, I don't think NVIDIA is necessary for Cartoon Animator. I'm not a tech person, okay? I have a tech guy. I throw money at him. He makes my computer run better. That's how I work. You do need NVIDIA, I believe, to get iClone running properly for more complicated animations and lighting and things like that, not for Cartoon Animator. So there we go. Oh, done. Okay. Let's the next one. Is there a way to automate eye blinking in Cartoon Animator 5? No, I don't think there is. Now, isn't that funny? I've never actually used. I do all my blinking myself, right? So if I want this, no, there's not an automated blink motion that I'm aware of. Somebody could correct me on this one. As I said, I've been working with this for 12 years. I know the stuff that I know. There's still plenty of people out there who know more than me. But if I wanted to get a character to blink, might as well just show you while we've got time to get us started. If I wanted to get my character to blink, and we'll just zoom in on it, all I would do is to go, I'm just trying to move all my panels out the way. Sorry, guys. Right. I would open up my panel there, go to the face, go to the eye. Down here on the timeline track, you have the LI_S track. That is the sprite track. So if you move forward there and then close the eye, move forward a little bit, open the eye. Now she's going to blink like that. And you can copy those frames, which you could then paste anywhere in your animation. So she'll blink, she'll blink. So although it doesn't have an automated blink, it's not that hard to set up. It's really quite easy. Okay, next question. I may have missed it. With the first project example with three cameras, but was that a huge canvas with 3 different cameras focused on 3 different parts of the canvas? Canvas is the right term, that's fine. Let me just show you DW. Let me show you. Let's go back and just open that project up again and take a look. All right. The red bounding box around the outside there is the output perimeter of your project. If I click this button here, it will tell me that my output size is 1920 by 1080, or I can select off the list to be whatever I want. I generally find 1920 by 1080 is perfect because that's going to look great on an iPhone, an iPad, a TV, computer, whatever. Okay, so anything outside of that red square is not going to show up on your output. Okay, so even if I change, wherever I change my camera to be, okay, that is where the output limit, like, so the top of the UFO there is not going to show, the space over here is not going to show, it will only show the stuff that is inside of there. Okay, all right. Next question. Is there a way to change the position of hands? Like with the pirate, his left hand, yeah, Jim, easy peasy, easy peasy. Let me show you. A great tip that I can give you on hand gestures is whenever I'm animating, I do my hand gestures last, okay? I always do them at the very end of my animation. There is a reason for that, and I won't go into it. Technically, it's because every time you change your hand position, you get a keyframe, and it can throw out all your keyframes. So what you're saying is, Why can't I hide that window? Hide floating meeting controls. Would that be that one? Yes. Oh man, why didn't I do that earlier? Could have done that earlier. Okay, so let's have a look here for Jim. We've got the pirate's hands, and as you say correctly, they're both facing forward like that, but you want to change them. If you go into your 2D motion key editor, you'll get this little hand icon here. Select that, and that brings up your hand pose editor. Now, we'll select his left hand, and we'll select his left hand here. And now I've got all different hands that I can choose from. Now, it's still facing palm out, but if I hit flip hand, his hand will flip to the other side. Okay, and you can do that on both hands. So that's how you do that. Nice and easy. That was an easy one. Okay, next question. In what order do you animate? Face, body, lip sync. Great question, Dave. When I animate, I block out all of my motions to start with. Actually, if it's got dialogue in there, I will animate the lip syncing first. And the reason that I do that is because that way your character is stuck in one position on screen. If I tried to lip sync this guy as he's running across the screen, I've got to chase him across the screen while he's lip syncing. If I do all the lip syncing right at the very beginning, he's staying still. I can do all my lip syncing, then I can do my animation. So I do lip syncing first, then I block out all my basic movement. Not really accurate, just block out. I want him to move from here to here, raise his arm, whatever. Then I go back again and I start to tweak those motions so that they're better. And then I'll go back again and I'll tweak all the things like head turns and stuff like that so that the head turns match the body movement. Then I go back and I put in my blinking. So I do everything in stages. Again, as I said through the presentation, one of the great things about Cartoon Animator is that you can do that. You can go through and work on a little bit now, come back, go back to an earlier stage and work on it. You don't have to get it all right first time out of the gate. I absolutely love that. Okay, wondering if Cartoon Animator will ever have a version of the actor mixer tool as in CC5. Probably a total different approach, but mixing and matching body parts or sprites, manipulating existing sprites. Look, there's no word of it at the moment, okay? There's no word of it at the moment that I know of. So I can't tell you what's going to happen in the future. Doesn't exist at the moment, and there's nothing on the table to say that it will. Next one, can we have a list of your AI sources? Well, yes, D, I'm happy to do that. Look, I'll just tell you what they are for now, but if you want to send me an email, I'm happy to give you a list. ChatGPT, I use to put a lot of this presentation together. However, I'm finding ChatGPT at the moment is not giving me back all as many responses as accurately as I want. It did this morning, it didn't yesterday, who can tell, right? But I will use ChatGPT for things like script writing, dialogue, plot ideas, just inspiration. I come to work every morning. First thing I do is I go to ChatGPT and I write in there and I go, inspire me. And it comes up with all these ideas and it goes, hey, Gary, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? And it's brilliant. It's such a great way of getting an inspiration. It's like having a personal assistant, right? So ChatGPT is fantastic for that. Also writes great song lyrics. Then you've got Grok 3. Grok 3 is really, really good at being able to bring 2D animation to life. If you saw my Jack Danger trailer that I did recently, it was all done through Grok and Envato's image to video editor. Envato is an absolutely amazing piece of software. That site, Envato does music, does sound effects. It even has an AI sound effects section. So if you want a really, really specific sound effect that you can't find anywhere, you can put it into Envato's AI sound effects editor and it will give it. The other day, I needed the sound effect of a biplane diving through the sky, right? Gave it to me in an instant. Absolutely brilliant. Envato is also great because it incorporates Nano Banana into its subscription as well. And as I said, Nano Banana, oh my gosh, it's fantastic. I could take that picture of the pirate on the island there and say to Nano Banana, show me what it looks like from an aerial shot 100 feet away. And it will do it. It will retain the look and do it. The other great thing about Nano Banana, and I know a lot of you who have played with artificial intelligence have come across this, right? Have you ever had a picture in artificial intelligence, you send it back through and you go, oh, just change the color of his shirt. And all of a sudden, the guy's got a different skin tone, it's a different person, his hair color, it changes everything. Nano Banana is set up so that it will only change the things you ask it to change. So if I've got me standing like that and I go, put me in a tuxedo, it will only change the clothing and nothing else. Absolutely brilliant. And as I said, Envato's image to video editor, superb. It does 3D characters better than anything. Absolutely amazing. They're the main ones that I use. I've got to tell you too, I've been through so many AI sites in the last 12 months, from all the obvious ones like Midjourney and Kling and all that sort of thing, to some of the more obscure ones. I've tried them all. These are just the ones that I really like. All right, moving on. Is there any news on a CTA 5 update? I heard that there should be one near the end of the year, and it's November. Okay, I don't have any official word that I can give you on updates for CTA 5. Believe me, the second, and I mean the second, I get official word, because anything I tell anybody, I have to get permission. Sometimes I'll go very, very close to the bone where I'll give out tips and stuff, but no, at the moment, I don't have any official word on updates. Okay. Did you generate all of your AI character using a free account, or would it be, if not, would it be possible? Yes. The AI character that you saw there that I generated, that was done all through the free accounts with ChatGPT. Wait on, let me think, sorry, because I have a paid subscription with ChatGPT. Okay, with ChatGPT, if you don't have a paid subscription, you only get a set number of generations of a day, and it's really small. It's like 4 or something like that. With Grok, I don't have a paid subscription, and I haven't hit the limit yet, so I don't know what the limit there is. It's fantastic. And with Envato, with their image to video editor, great news. They have unlimited video generations until the end of January 2026, which is unbelievable. Normally for my subscription, I pay $198 Australian, no, $198 American for an annual subscription. And for that, I get 20 video generations a month, which doesn't sound like a lot. And when you start out, it's really not. But over time, as you get better and you don't need as many, it's really good. Okay, so the answer is yes. You can do a lot of this with the free stuff. What I've done, I've paid for certain subscriptions like Envato, because without the subscription, you don't get Nano Banana. And I'll tell you now, honestly, if you're serious about your animation, right, Nano Banana is a great investment, because it's awesome. Absolutely awesome. However, if you were to take your Clang comic and use Camera Switcher to read through the comic, any quick advice on how you would do it? Okay, I understand what you're saying. So what you're saying, Heather, is, for instance, let me just check that I am correct here. I believe what you're saying is, for instance, that if you wanted to have your comic like that and then have the camera move around from side to side. Yeah, okay. Look, okay, great question, but I'm going to show you something. What time is it? Oh, we still got time. All right, let's save this as a JPEG, and I'm going to show, oh, it's already saved as a JPEG. Let's go into Cartoon Animator, and I'll show you how I would do that. I wouldn't use the camera system for that, okay? Let's do this. Let's import a prop. Let's go and find that comic, which is the webinar, projects, Clang, comic, there it is. Okay, let's bring it in. Yeah, we'll resize it. Okie dokie dokie. Here we go. What I would do, the blue bounding box around the outside, as you know, is the size of your screen. Okay, so let's say, for instance, this is just an example. Okay, this is just to demonstrate. Let's say we had that like that. Down at the bottom of the bar here, I would go to the camera. Now, not project camera, I would go to the camera at the bottom here, which is this one. And I would open up transform. Now I can control my camera movement using just keyframes. That's how I would do it. So say, for instance, at the very beginning here, you'd hold for 50 frames, put in a keyframe. So Cartoon Animator, no change there. Then at say frame 80, I wanted to slide across to here, for instance. Okay. And oh, I'm in preview mode. Good on you guys. Go to camera mode. Gosh almighty. Let's do that again. I was wondering why it didn't move. Okay, so I've got Alien Squad there, like that. Nice and simple. There's my opening shot. Okay. And at frame 50, I want it to hold to there. But then at frame 80, I want it to slide across to here. Right. And then let's say I wanted it to go really, really quick down to this one, just as an example. And then hold there for a little while. So I put in a keyframe and then move across to this one. What you would end up with is this. So it'll hold to there, slide across, then jump down. Oh, that's no good. We want it to hold, don't we? Hold on. Let's move that across to there. And we'll paste that into there. So what I've done, to explain. Hold to there, and then slide across to there. Then hold position, then zoom down to the next line, then hold position, move across to that one. So you end up with this. Scroll across, hold position, zoom down, hold position. So you could just move around the screen anywhere you want, okay? Yes, that can be done. Done. Are you training, Kent, are you training your own AI on your characters or styles of characters? You know what? I thought that was something that had to be done. I don't. Like even Clang, even in this picture here, right? Where we go out. Like I got pretty good consistency there. As I did say, there's a few little errors there that aren't 100% that can be tweaked. But all I do, the benefit of having Cartoon Animator is that you can pose your character any way you want. Then just go, you know, create it as a 3D character. If you want to, you can drop one of your 3D characters in with the 2D character and say, hey, you know, this is the 3D style I want. Take the 2D character and create it in that style, right? I'm not exactly training it. Just every prompt, I go, hey, AI, do this. Make it good. Truly, I've been really lucky. Mind you, when I say I've been really lucky, okay, that's really lucky, but it took me 12 months to find that luck. There was a lot of times where I was throwing things around my office going, AI is stupid and it's the dumbest thing ever and it's not going to work. But in time, you get better at it, like anything. All right, let's have a look. Wall is a 3D character generated by AI. Will be easy to animate in CTA, in CA5. Okay. So your question is a 3D character generated by, oh, I see what you're saying. Right, okay. Yes, it's exactly the same as the goal that I did, right? All you would do, let's say, for instance, I created this character. You would want to create it in an A pose, okay? And then the same as I showed you with the girl, you've just got to break down all your body parts. So like I demonstrated how I created the girl in AI, she happened to be in 2D. I could just as easily have done it with Clang in 3D, right? You just have to break down all the body parts. Then you can put all those parts into Cartoon Animator. And even though it's all 2D, he'd look a little bit more cell shaded and 3D. So yeah, absolutely, you can do that. No problem at all. Felipe, is it planned from Reillusion to import an image and rigging automatically with the help of AI? Oh my gosh, wouldn't that be fantastic? Would that not be the coolest thing that you could just go, right, I'm gonna, I know, look, I hear you. There's no word on it or anything yet, right? But just imagine if I could take that image and then drop it into a little side program associated with Cartoon Animator, drop it in there and go, okay, using AI, give me all the facial expressions that I need, break the character up and rig it into arms and hands and fingers and gestures, and then you just get it back and done. It could be done. I can't see why it couldn't be done. The brains at Reillusion could absolutely do it. Are they doing it? I don't have word on that. Okay, so I totally agree though. That would be an absolutely incredible idea. Lorne, do you have a preferred dummy template for creating characters? Lorne, I do. I actually don't use the forward-facing character. I use the side-facing character. So if I go to templates, my favorite, when I very first started building characters, The very first one that I built on was this one. And I'll explain why. Let me just bring that one in and let me bring this one in for a second and explain why. Okay. This is not rigged as well, right? It's all just one piece. So if I bring that in, like the arms like that, it looks terrible. It looks shocking. Yeah, that's fine. If you just want to do a background character just doing that, that's fine. It'll be fine. But you're not going to be able to rig it properly. You have the forward-facing or the side-facing characters, right? For me, personally, I always use the side-facing character. And the reason for that is because if you have a look at my characters, and I'll just bring one up as an example. Oh, we might as well bring up Clang, eh? Where's Alien Squad? Where's Clang? Here he is. Here's Clang. If I bring up Clang like this and bring him in, the reason that I use the side facing is because if I want him to go walking off to the screen over there, then he's already facing the right direction, right? He looks like he's facing in the right direction. If I want him moving forward, my characters have an extra foot built in so that his feet are facing a little bit more forward, which helps. And by having the face looking forward instead of sideways, I think, just to show you, I think you'll find that that is more convincing for a forward-facing character, whereas this is more convincing for a side-facing character. Okay, that's the reason that I use the side-facing character. If you use the forward-facing character, you're stuck only using forward. If you use the side, you can get away with having it look like both. So that's my reason there. Okay, I'm done. Oh, anonymous. How exciting. How do you handle looping? For example, if you generated that water background, good question. If you generated that water background for an animation that was longer than the video, okay, are there ways to ensure it is generated as a seamless loop? You can ask you can ask AI, so like Envato, you can put it into your prompt. I want this as a looping animation. I did that with the flame, with the fire, right? It's not perfect, but what I do is I will go through the animation, and I use CapCut for my video editing, right? So I will go through my animation and try to cut it at the exact moment that the last frame looks like the first frame, grab it, and then duplicate, 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 and then it will go. Like for instance, like with that fire prop, right? There is a slight glitch, but it's not too bad, right? Here's the secret. The secret is that you don't want things in the background like clouds moving, right? Because if this is going to be a loop cycle and the cloud's moving across like that, it stops to here, and then the cloud moves across like that, it's going to be more obvious. If I've just got trees in the background that are going like this, and then it loops and there's a little glitch, it's not going to be as obvious. But it always pays to put into your prompt, I want it as a loop. So there we go. Anita Bell, which prompt can hello Anita, which prompt can generate a normal angle side facing G3 instead of a front facing one? Okay, you know what I do there? It doesn't, this is my opinion, it doesn't matter what do we got? It's only 1:30. Let's try something. Let's try something for Anita. I don't know if this will work, but we're going to try something. Let's go into Envato, and I will actually show you guys the way I use Envato. This is Envato. Here is Nano Banana. I love Nano Banana. We are going to choose an image. Let's choose the image of, let me think. Oh, here we go. Let's choose this girl. Here is a cartoon face of a girl that was just AI generated, okay? And so that you can see her, let's bring up, where did I have it? Where did I have it? One second, because what I want to do, I want to bring it up so you can actually see it better. Oh, so it's in my exports. Okay. So let's bring up the girl as well from my exports so that you can actually see her on screen and see that what I'm saying is true. Okay. There she is. Okay, so there she is larger. It's just an AI image of the girl's face. Now, here's where a lot of people are probably falling down with AI, right? You've got the girl there, you want it to be a different angle, right? And you go, oh, I can't get it right. Okay, it keeps changing the look. With Nano Banana, it usually, hope it doesn't make a liar of me, it usually will keep it the same. So we've got the girl there. Let's put in, show the girl's face at a 45-degree angle, at an angle. Let's just triangle. Oh, actually, we'll do this first. Let's show it at a profile. And all we do is click generate images. It takes about 5 to 10 seconds, so I don't mind generating that now. You can put in multiple images, up to 3 images to help it calculate, but it's still going to do a pretty good job here, I reckon. There you go. There's your side-facing view of the girl. And to me, that still looks like the girl. Let's see what happens. Show the girl's face. Now, the problem with the word angle is, we'll try angle side, the way you wrote it. Because the problem with angle is sometimes when you use the word angle, it will just rotate it on an angle. AI, yeah, like I said, it's like a 5-year-old. It's just like a petulant child sometimes. But let's have a look. There you go. How about that? So there you've got, oh, let's do one more. Just for the fun of it. So now we've got our side view, our front-facing view, our 3/4 view. Can we get the back view? And you would have all the views you'd need to create a full rotating character. Boom, did it. There you go. This is why I use Nano Banana. Amazing, amazing software. All right, I got to move on or I'll be here on Nano Banana for the rest of the day because I absolutely love it. Okay, Jeff Mills, awesome. Thank you. Looking for the follow-up video with the blinking. Could you use Motion Link from iClone, which does have an auto blink? Don't know. Truly don't know. Can you use Motion Link? I don't know. I'm so sorry, I can't answer that question. Somebody else in here might be able to. Tell you what to do. Jeff, post that same question on the Cartoon Animator users Facebook page, okay? Tell them, you're in the webinar, post that there. There are other people on there that might have an answer to it. See, with blinking, I just copy and paste my blinks in. I don't worry about it. Sorry about that. And yes, the follow-up video, I don't know when it will be posted, but it's about a 15-minute video that goes into more detail about what we're doing. Today is really just opening the door for the first time to inspire you, to show you what's possible. I will be doing more and more and more on this stuff because it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Can you show how you use prompt and get image and video from ChatGPT Live? Well, no, it's just a matter of, as I said before, I don't want to sit there and doing long prompts. I did this one because it was quick. I don't want to do long prompts, but the easiest way there is to just make sure that the prompt that you put in is as detailed as possible. Bill Foster, can you show different way to have your character to talk from an auto talk and live? Can you show different way to have your character to talk from an auto talk and live? Okay, I can't show you how to do it live, and the problem with that is because in order to do, like, I assume you mean live by mocap, right, with facial recognition. The reason I can't do that is because my webcam is being used to film the webinar. I can't do both at the same time. It's always a problem. I can't teach people anything to do with a webcam because they need it in order to teach you. But what I can tell you is you've got 2 other ways of doing your lip syncing, right? You've got your auto lip syncing, which does a pretty good job. Okay, I'm going to say a pretty good job. If you've just got a character that's at a distance and they're talking, throw the auto lip syncing on it, does a pretty good job. If you want to get proper lip syncing, then in my opinion, you need to learn to actually get in there and change all your sprites around and get your lip syncing done. But again, because we're on the topic of AI today, another really good way of doing it is there are sites now that can do lip syncing as well. If you saw my Jack Danger trailer, I don't know if you saw it, the characters in their talk, that was done with Grok 3. I just put the character into Grok 3 and just had the character speak and say hello. In fact, let's just try something. Let's just try something in the background while we're working. Let's shut that down. Let's just open Grok. Let's have a look. No guaranteeing this will work, but we will have a look. Upload a file. Oh, no, not there. Okay, so with Grok, if we want to do the image editing, where are we? Over here. Why are you not responding? Sorry, guys. That's not responding for some reason. Not responding in the task. Okay. I don't know why that happened, but let's have a look. Okay. Where were we? So in Grok 3, we'll open that up. And we'll go over to here and we'll go to Imagine. And we'll upload our photo. Upload. And we'll upload. It was downloads, wasn't it? We'll go to our downloads. Open the picture of the girl there. And we'll say, I don't know if this will work, but we'll give it a go. The girl says, "Hi, it's nice to meet you." Let's have a look. Now, as you can see, it's going to generate that pretty quick. No guaranteeing it'll work, but I'm actually curious to see what's going to happen here as well. And all right, let's while we're waiting on this, I'm just going to go to the next question so that we're not sitting here wasting time. From Kent, have you tried or tested the new? Oh, here we go.
Oh, it's nice to meet you.
Okay. Here's a point.
Oh,
Let's.
nice to meet you.
I can't do anything about the sound. Okay. You could very easily.
It's nice to meet you.
Okay. The lip syncing there is really good. The voice is terrible. You get rid of the sound out of the background. If you download that file, right, assuming there's a full picture and background, you've got your character talking, you could download that, put it into your video editing software like CapCut, which is what I use, and you could dub the voice over the top, which is exactly what I did with the Jack Danger trailer that I did. I dubbed the voices over the top. So that's one way of doing that. I hope that answers your question. But just to play that one more time, seriously, how good is that? Look at that. Look at that blink.
Oh, it's nice to meet
Oh, I put ho, it's nice to meet you. I was wondering why she wasn't saying hi. Okay, have a look at that. It's nice to meet you anyway. Watch.
It's nice to meet you.
Look at that. The way she says you and the mouth comes forward. That's gorgeous. Okay. So where were we? Bill, can you show different? Oh, yeah, we've done that one. Okay, answer live. Done. Kent, have you tried or tested the new turntable beta in Illustrator? Oh man, I want to try it. I want to try it. I think it's amazing. I don't use Illustrator at all. Never have. Don't understand a thing about it. My expertise is CorelDRAW. I've been following Turntable. Oh, for those who don't know, Turntable is the ability to take a two-dimensional drawing and it will keep it two-dimensional, but make it three-dimensional. So it still looks like a 2D drawing, but it moves in 3D space. It is absolutely phenomenal. I haven't done it yet, but yeah, I think that's pretty incredible. Sorry, I can't answer that one. Do you animate longer scenes in bite-sized sections, then put them together in post, or one long scene? D. Abbott. The easy answer to that is short scenes. Every single camera cut you see in anything I do is a whole new project. Several reasons I do that. Number one, it's way less power consuming on your computer if you use smaller bites of a project, okay? Number two, it gives you more control because if you've done 3,000 frames of animation that are all over the place and you want to change something, you better be sure that you know exactly where that's happening. Whereas if it's only a little bite-sized chunk, all you've got to do is work on that. Then I string them all together, right? And I edit them in CapCut. And the reason I do that also is because that way I can trim, I can change the speed of things. Yeah, don't do all your projects in one, all your scenes in one project. You drive yourself crazy. Drive yourself crazy. Okay, Nehemiah. Are there any issue with copyright when using AI with CTA 5? Well, it depends on the site that you use, right? It's important that you go and have a look at the sites that you're generating from AI. They all have their, copyright sections. Some of them, you can't use them in commercial work. Some of them you can. That's just something that you personally have to check out before you use AI. Jeff Mills, any AI approaches to lip syncing? Well, I kind of just covered that for you, didn't I? Yeah, absolutely. Have a look at Grok 3. Does a great job. You just put it in there, type in what you want. You may not get the voice back. Also, I will usually put no background music. I forgot to do it there, but I'll put no background music. But the auto lip syncing, the lip syncing in AI, it's not perfect, but by geez, it's good. Like if you have a look at that Jack Danger trailer that I did, right? The lip syncing there is pretty darn good. I was finicky with it, but it's pretty good. And it's going to save you a heck of a lot of time of sitting there going through it if you're not as fussy on lip syncing. Look, it depends. If I had a character up close on screen like that girl is now, I'd want to make sure that lip syncing was spot on. If she was delivering 60 seconds of dialogue, it had better be right. Okay. If she's way off in the background and she goes, "Oh, hi everyone, how you going?" I don't care. It's not, I do, I'm pedantic, but it doesn't really matter. Okay. So yes, Grok 3, have a look at Grok 3. Alrighty, Nehemiah. When using AI, well, we did that one. We'll move on. Felipe, could be fine to integrate in some way ChatGPT or another LLM tools to work with CA5 and facilitate current difficulties to rig and modify current objects and characters. I'm sorry, Felipe, I'm not entirely understanding your question. Also, export CA5 characters as 3D to be. No, you can't export a CTA5 character as 3D to be used in CC5. No, you can't do that. All characters that would be exported out of Cartoon Animator are coming out as flat images like PNGs, JPEGs, stuff like that. The only thing that you could do is to do what I did with the alien, where you pose the first original pose of your character, export that, set your scene up, and then go, okay, now stand there with your hands in the air. And the character will go from this position to that. And there's your clip. If you really want, for instance, I'll give you a really good tip here I don't even know how many people are still with us, but I hope you are. Here's a really good tip. Let's say, for instance, I had a character and I wanted him to pick up this jar, okay? The problem is the jar needs to start on the table and you can't see the jar, but it needs to end here, right? So how do I get AI if I'm using, say, if I'm doing first to last video, first to last image, that's good. Your first image would be this, your last image would be that. Then AI is going to fill in all the in-betweens and he's going to lift up the bottle, okay? But keep in mind, sometimes you've got to think outside the box. If you're only using a single image to do that with, just do it in reverse, right? This is your first camera shot. And then you turn around and tell AI, tell him to put the bottle down. So in the animation, he'll put the bottle down. When you reverse it, he picks it up. Okay, so you've got to use what you've got, think outside the box, and use the tools to really just mash everything together. Look, I've said it before in webinars. I don't ever start a project and ask myself, can Cartoon Animator do this? I always start a project and I go, I want to do this. How do I make Cartoon Animator do it? There is always a way, always a way. Okay, done. Hello, Heather. What AI would you recommend for consistent eye sprites or mouth sprites? Oh, Nano Banana, 100%. 100%. Let me show you something. Let's go back to Nano Banana for a second. I love this software. As I said, I could do a whole hour just on Nano Banana. I really could. All right, let's choose our images again. Watch this. There's our girl. We've got the eye sprites in there. That would be our normal eye sprite, okay? But we want a different eye sprite. We need the blink eye sprite, right? So just tell it to close her eyes. We're going to get an image. I should be the spokesman for Nano Banana, I tell you, because I could get people to buy this program. Fantastic. There we go. There's the girl with her eyes closed. Now you have two sprites, one with it open, one with it closed. In Photoshop, you just isolate the eye, bring it into your character, and you've got it. If you wanted to, make her eyes really wide. Okay, we'll have a look at that, and then I'll show you one more before I move on to the next question. We have about 10 minutes left, and then I have to wrap things up because otherwise the poor people at Reillusion never get a break. the people behind the scenes recording. Okay, her eyes aren't that wide. That's all right. You don't always get back what you want, right? Make her, so we do this, make her expression that she is shocked. Let's see what happens. So we don't need that one. We get rid of that one. Now make her expression that she is shocked. Let's see what happens. There we go. So now you've got a new character. Okay, you've got a different mouth shape. The eyes are wider. So you've got something new. Where the hand is covering the mouth, that's not a problem. You put it into Photoshop, trace around the hand, use generative fill and tell it to remove the hand. It'll remove the hand. There we go. So you can do that with eyes and mouths. That's how you get consistency. Look, ChatGPT was good. I don't think it's as good for doing this now. Grok is still very good, but it's not always accurate. Envado's Nano Banana, you've got to pay for it, but what I'm showing you here today proves it does actually work. Okay, it's not a gimmick, it actually works. Tom Clunan, for your new Jack Danger animation where he is running forward towards the camera on the bridge, did you create a new forward-facing version of Jack Danger by modifying the original side-facing 45-degree angle version of Jack Danger? Did you use AI techniques similar to those shown today to do that? First of all, Tom, that is the clearest question I've had. That was very good. Thank you. Yeah, all I did, I put Jack Danger on just a normal side-facing view like that. I put that into, let me think. I think it was Grok. I've got it in my notes. I'll look it up. It was either Grok or it was Nano Banana. I'm not sure. It's one of the two. I put him in there, and all I did was I said, make this character running at full pace towards the camera. And it gave me the forward face. Now, when you watch the Jack Danger trailer, okay, it's like, I think it's great, but there's a lot of inconsistencies in there. There's a lot of problems that are going to get ironed out by future releases of AI, okay? But it's fantastic for what it can do now. And I'm actually doing a series that will break down the good and the bad on that. Got to speed up so that I get through everybody. I've got about 10 minutes to go. How do you stop AI, or Heather again, how do you stop AI from cutting off a part of the character it's generating? For example, like the girl's profile head was cut off at the hair, but sometimes it chops off arms. Yes, you're absolutely right. And it's really, really annoying. So I'm going to show you something. Let's say, for instance, I'll just use this one. Let's say, for instance, I generated this and it cropped off the girl's hair like that. Okay. And you go, oh, dang it, it's not right. Here's what I do. I use Photoshop. Now, what I'm going to show you, it's not always perfect, but I'm getting a little bit better at it. Okay, so first thing I do is to go change my canvas size and make it wider. So I've got room to play with. Okay. We need to refill in this area with something. It needs to look better. So what I would do is grab my lasso and I would just trace around an area there like that. And then I would go to generative fill and just let it generate. Now, at the moment, my generative fill has been playing up a little bit the last couple of days. I think it's just an update with Photoshop. Could come back as a black blob. Don't be surprised. If it doesn't, it'll be good. But it'll only take a second, and I'll show you. There we go. And it fills it back in for you. And the good thing about generative fill in Photoshop, which is a fantastic tool, the good thing about this is it actually gives you multiple choices. So you've got that option, or the third option, and you pick the one that you like, that you think works best, and then in your layers, you just condense your layers, and now I have the girl with her hair. There you go. Thank you, Heather. Okay, Fred, how do you deal with shadows, if you do? Yes, Fred, I do. Easiest way of dealing with a shadow is to take a character and just put a small black oval of a PNG black oval underneath the character, right? And that will suffice. For instance, I have a black oval set up from years and years and years and years ago, all the way back in Cartoon Animator 3, with my characters called the Little Mates. I had a Little Mate shadow, character shadow, and all it is a black blob. Where is it? There it is. And all it is a black blob, right? I put it behind the character, go behind the character, and then I will rescale it to whatever size that I want, and I will change its opacity down to about 25%, and you've got yourself a shadow. What I will do then is once the character's animated, I will animate that shadow moving along with the character and moving and changing. Having said that, if you want to get really, really clever, you can create a second layer of your character, make that second layer black, solid black, right? Offset it, then save out each layer of animation as an MOV file, rebuild it in your video editing software. I do it in CapCut, rebuild the layers and make that layer a little bit transparent, and it will work. And yeah, I've got some really good samples on my YouTube channel about stuff I've done there. Moving along, because we've only got 5 minutes to go and I have to keep moving. Anonymous, I bought a CTA 5 in November and I'm a beginner. Are there any YouTube learning channels you can recommend? Yes, the number one learning channel is the Reillusion official YouTube channel. They have playlists there for everything. Make sure you go back and watch the CTA 4 ones as well, because a lot of those are still applicable. Also on the Reillusion page, we have the official tutorials. Go on there, but make sure that you join the Cartoon Animator users Facebook page. Get on there, ask any questions you've got. Everybody's really helpful. 6,000 people, 6,000 CTA users on there. Guarantee you'll get a question normally within a couple of hours. Shane McKnight, what are you doing here? Are you going to do, how are you, Shane? Are you going to do a follow-up to the Jack Danger short you did recently with AI? Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to break that short down, and I'm creating a series of videos that explains how I did every single shot, detail for detail. I did this, I did that, what I like about it, what I don't like about it. Because there's no point in just looking at the good. We have to look at what doesn't work in order to work out how to fix it and make it work. I would love to do more AI animations like the Jack Danger trailer. Absolutely loved it. Lorne, is there going to be an Animation at Work 2025 contest this year? It doesn't look like it. What are we at? 13th. I'm at the 13th because I'm living in your future, some of you. I haven't heard any word of an animation contest this year, so I'm going to say looking like no at this point. Tanya, there you are. Thanks, Gary. You never disappoint. This webinar was incredible. Thank you so much. I'm sorry, I should read that again just to make sure I got it right. Thanks, Gary. Oh, that was very nice of you. Thank you, Tanya. I appreciate it. I just appreciate people turning up. I really do. Finally, last one. Oh man, so good. We're finishing right on time. Tony Quaid, you are the last man standing. A workaround to get 2D characters turned into rigged 3D characters using AI is Meshly AI. Meshy AI. Yes. Now, to finish up, that's an interesting one, Tony, because I've played with Meshy. Okay. In the next follow-up video I'm doing, I do touch on Meshy for a very, very short time. I've played with Meshy. Meshy is good. There's Meshy. There's another one. Can't think of it. There's another good one as well. The biggest complaints that 3D people who, some of them, not all of them, can get a little bit elitist about their 3D. Well, they don't like the idea of, oh, good, it's improved drastically. Yeah, I used it in the early days. The biggest problem that they had was apparently the mesh is very untidy and there are way too many polygons and that it's just not practical for 3D animation. That's what I've heard. Having said that, I would think at least for things like props and stuff in the background, Meshy's got to be amazing, right? Like if you want to just create a treasure chest and drop it in the background, it's got to be amazing. All right. I think that puts us at the end of our webinar. I'm going to sign off now and just say thank you so much to everybody that joined us. Your feedback on this webinar is really important when you get your little feedback sheet to let people know, let Reillusion know if you're happy with what I did, what you want to see in the future. I'm really hoping that we can do more on AI because today I touched on the subject, but I have so much more to offer. All right, guys, thank you very much. I'm going to say goodbye. Reillusion, we can stop recording. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.